please subscribe and don't forget to press the bell icon to get notified whenever we upload a new video.
Well, let's start with a quick check at today's market action. It was a quiet day for major indices, except for mid-caps. The index closed today's session with gains of about 128 points. No major swings seen, so to speak, in Nifty. So the index closed in the red with loss of about 20 points by the end of the day. The Sensex also ended in the red, about 60 points in the red. Anuj Singhal is here with the wrap of today's trading action. Anuj, we started the day good, but towards the latter half of the trading session, there was some consolidation.
What a volatile day for the market. For most parts, the market was in the green, and in fact, the mid-cap index did make a new record high and, of course, closed at a record high. But the indices, the Sensex and Nifty, after hitting new highs, turned a bit volatile. The Bank Nifty was a bit weak ahead of the weekly options expiry tomorrow. ADAG stocks really was the talking point in late trade. In terms of index stocks, today was a tinge of profit taking. Eicher, Dr. Reddy's, Mahindra & Mahindra, HDFC Twins, Maruti, Reliance, the big movers all saw some profit taking. While on the way up, we had stocks like Hindalco, ONGC, Lever, Infosys, Larsen and Bajaj Finance. But as I said, ADAG really was the talking point. In particular, Reliance Communications, which at one point was up 40%, ended with 30% gains, of course. Reliance Naval and Reliance Capital were the other big gainers, and some more mid-cap gainers today included names like Morpen Labs, MTNL and Future Consumers. So all in all, the template is being followed. This market has had a correction, is bouncing back, is seeing some resistance at all-time highs, but mid-caps are doing well. Classical bull market patterns of 2017.
Okay, it's all about volatility right now, but let's talk about Bitcoins and the kind of action that we've seen. Bitcoin is in focus after an over 10% drop in its value. The digital currency started falling after Coinbase, the leading platform for buying and selling Bitcoin in the United States, said that it was rolling out support for Bitcoin Cash, a rival cryptocurrency. Bitcoin is currently trading below that $16,000 mark. Remember, it's hit almost $19,000 at some point. Meanwhile, in India, the government and various regulators are tracking the developments related to cryptocurrencies very closely. Talking about risks from such currencies, SEBI chief Ajay Tyagi has said that though it is not a systemic issue as such, still it should not be ignored.
Government and Ministry of Finance and Ministry of IT, along with RBI and SEBI, they are trying to see as to what needs to be done. Unless there is fair decision as to and certainty as to what needs to be done, you really cannot say something on a subject.
It's a complicated procedure to actually get a regulation going as far as Bitcoin in India is concerned. But let's talk about the other big story today. The big exclusive in the battle against bad loan. We learn from banking sources that lenders have written to the Finance Ministry as well as the Reserve Bank of India and have sought more time to make provisions for cases under the RBI second defaulter list. Ritu Singh broke that story earlier today and she's here with the exclusive details. Ritu, what's the current deadline and why are banks seeking this extension? And, you know, the bigger point, will they actually get it?
Well, you know, the second list of accounts referred to the IBC by the Reserve Bank of India constitutes of about 1.5 lakh crore rupees of loans. And if you go by the RBI guidelines, which mandates banks to make 50% provisioning upfront for all their secured exposures and 100% provision if they have any unsecured exposures, we're talking about a huge sum here. In fact, banks estimate that the additional provision that they'll have to make, aside from what they've already made for most of these accounts that will be sent to the NCLT, is about 45,000 crore rupees, and that's big money for a lot of these small banks that have really been struggling with capital. So we understand that banks have written to the Department of Financial Services and the Reserve Bank of India to give them some leeway, at least stagger the provision requirements over the next few quarters. Currently, RBI has told the banks to make all the provision requirements by the 31st of March 2018, but banks are hoping that they will give it a few quarters to meet this provisioning requirement because you know, the capital infusion from government may be sufficient for some of the banks to cover these provisions, but not for everyone.
Okay, we need some more time to see if that is actually something that can go through. But Ritu, you've had a busy day today. You also pick up from your sources that an SBI-led lenders consortium has put a GP associate subsidiary, that is Prayag Raj Power Generation Company, for sale. This is the second arm actually of the company after JP Infratech that's facing the lenders' ire. What is the status and what's the deadline that we're working with here?
Well, you know, clearly not the best of times for the JP Group as a whole, and now we understand that a State Bank of India-led consortium is looking to sell majority stake in JP Associates arm, that is Prayagraj Power Generation Limited, to a new investor or a strategic investor. We understand that SBI Caps has been mandated by the bankers to find a new bidder for the company, and December 29th is the deadline to submit EOIs. By 30th December, SBI hopes that a shortlisted bidder list will be prepared. Remember, this company has a debt of over 11,000 crore rupees, so a substantial amount really. And Punjab National Bank and State Bank of India, UCO Bank are some of the large lenders to this company. It has its thermal power plants in UP with a generation capacity of about 1980 megawatts, with the net worth of the company has really been falling in the last few years and now is at 1777 crore rupees as of the end of the second quarter. This time around, banks are hopeful maybe there will be bidders, because remember, the company also has a PPA agreement with the Uttar Pradesh government for its power generation.
Okay, fair enough, Ritu. Thanks for joining in with that. Not good times for sure as far as JP Associates is concerned, but here's a big story from North Block. With just over 40 days to go for the union budget, pre-budget consultations are now in full swing. Today, top government think tanks like Prime Minister's Economic Advisory Council and Niti Aayog got into a huddle with officials from key government departments to discuss ways to elevate agri-distress and iron out trade-related issues. Sources say that the PMEAC will meet again in January to finalize its recommendations for Budget 2018. That's another exclusive. The race for the top job of the Insurance Regulatory Authority of India is heating up. Sources tell us that 5 key contenders are set to apply for the chairman's post. Yash Jain is here with exclusive details. Yash, 5 potential contenders, 27th is the deadline. Who are these names and what is the timeline that IRDA is working with?
Well, as you rightly mentioned, December 27th is the date till when interested candidates can submit their application for the post of next IRDA chairman. And what we're gathering here is that various people, be it from the public insurance space or the private insurance space, are likely to submit their applications very soon. Starting with the public insurance space, we are given to understand that G. Srinivasan, who's the chairman and managing director of New India Assurance, as well as K. Sanat Kumar, who's the CMD of National Insurance, are likely to submit their applications very soon. Also, interestingly, the current LIC chairman, V.K. Sharma, is also likely to submit his application for the next IRDA chairman's post. As far as private sector is concerned, Mr. Sandeep Bakshi, who is the MD and CEO of ICICI Prudential Life, and Mr. Arijit Basu, who is the MD and CEO of SBI Life, are also likely to submit their applications for this post of IRDA chairman. This is as far as industry is concerned, but also we are given to understand that government from its end is also evaluating certain senior IAS officials for this post of IRDA chairman. CNBC TV 18 has written to all the people involved in this particular story, where Mr. Arijit Basu of SBI Life has said that he does not intend to file his application for IRDA chairman's post, and the rest are yet to reply to our query.
Okay, fair enough, Yash. Thanks for joining in with that. So perhaps after 27th, we'll get some clarity on who exactly has put in their application. Well, it's rating exclusives on CNBC TV 18, and this one's from the aviation sector. We learned from sources that Jet Airways is in talks to raise funds from Air France KLM and Delta via a fresh share issue. Now, we pick up from sources that Air France and KLM and Delta will acquire 5% each in Jet Airways. At least that is what they are working with. Remember, as of now, Etihad holds 24% stake in Jet Airways, and the acquisition of 10% by other airlines is unlikely to impact Etihad at all. Also, again, to put this into perspective, the foreign direct investment norms limit holding by foreign carriers and Indian entities is at 49%. So there is a window which Air France, KLM as well as Delta can take advantage of. If the deal does go through, Jet will have 34% FDI investment. This includes 5% from Air France, KLM and Delta each, and the 24% stake that Etihad holds in Jet Airways. The deal, however, is only in the negotiation stages at this point in time. We reached out to Air France, KLM as well as Jet for a comment. They refused to comment on market speculation. Delta, meanwhile, was unavailable for a comment. Let's get you exclusive interviews now. Tyre manufacturing major Apollo Tyres witnessed some pressure on the profitability front in the first half of 2017. However, the company's vice chairman and MD Neeraj Kanwar says that though the profitability picture is still challenging, there is a lot of improvement in the second half of the year. In an exclusive interview with Ronojoy Banerjee, Neeraj Kanwar also talked about the concerns regarding rising raw material prices and how the company is facing margin pressure.
Well, we are still in the third quarter. It's been a challenging year. If I take India, we've had our own hiccups with the GST happening. There was a big reform, positive reform, because the long-term effect is very good for us. We had that issue, then we had the emission norms changing in CVs. So we've had a challenging Q1 and Q2. But if you've seen on the revenue side, first half has been, you see the trend graph going up. So it's positive on the revenue side. Profitability has been a challenge this year. Continues to remain a challenge, but better than the earlier half of
the chairman, when the press statement was issued at the end of the second quarter, he said that raw material prices increased 15% on a year-on-year basis. Since then, we've seen some amount of softening. So do you anticipate third quarter being better than the first two?
Well, like I said, the trend graphs are going upwards, both on revenue and profitability. But I just want to underline one thing. Going forward, I'm seeing again raw materials going up because the demand cycles across the world are increasing, and therefore there is a lot of pressure coming on various raw materials in the world. So yes, I see raw materials going up and down. It's a volatile situation. I see challenges on that.
So roughly then you anticipate this year to be a year when your margins will face some headwinds, some pressure?
Yes, they will.
Compared to the previous year?
Compared to previous year, they will. But you will see by the end of this year, by March 2018, again, our trend lines in India will be going positive.
Last year you had said that you will be setting up a greenfield plant in Andhra Pradesh. When does groundbreaking happen? When does it go upstream?
As far as the greenfield is concerned, we are looking at Andhra. We've tied up with Andhra. We are hoping that we do the Bhumi Puja in January of 2018. And thereon, it will take 2 years for our plant to come up.
Okay, let's move on. Latest from the winter session of the Parliament. The opposition demands that the Prime Minister must apologise for his allegations against Prime Minister Modi disrupted the proceedings today in both the upper as well as the lower house. Rituparna Bhuyan is here with the highlights of today's session. Ritu, take it away.
Multiple disruption in both houses of the parliament. In fact, the Lok Sabha had to be adjourned even before all MPs were seated. In fact, the Prime Minister was there in Lok Sabha when the Congress members started raising slogans and Lok Sabha had to be adjourned. In Rajya Sabha, same situation. There was a lot of ruckus. Opposition parties led by Congress wanted the Prime Minister to apologize, even after Venkaiah Naidu made it clear that whatever comments were made by Prime Minister Modi were made outside the house, and hence asking for an apology in the house is not proper. That did not stop the opposition parties, including Congress, from raising slogans and asking the Prime Minister to apologize. When the MPs came out, we spoke to several of them, and many of them have said that at least there should be a discussion on this issue. The allegations which Prime Minister Modi raised against Manmohan Singh are very serious, and hence, if not an apology, at least there should be a discussion on from where did Mr. Modi get to know about what happened inside the dinner meeting that day, that evening. Let's listen to what MPs from different parties had to say on the impasse and the stalemate that we are seeing in both houses of the parliament. Listen in.
So far it's continuing because we are only urging the Prime Minister that he should come and explain it at least. If you don't apologize, at least explain it that you didn't mean that. You take all these people, former Prime Minister, former Vice President, former ambassadors, former army chiefs in high esteem.
This conclusion that the Prime Minister has to apologize has not been done by the Congress in isolation. This is after much weighing of the pros and cons and the consequences of irresponsible statements that have been made by the country's Prime Minister. He has said that the ex-Prime Minister conspired with the army chief and enemy country, which is what? It means treason.
This is more important than legislation.
Right.
देश पूरा जानना चाहता कि हमारे देश के पूर्व प्रधानमंत्री और पूर्व उपराष्ट्रपति क्या पाकिस्तान साथ मिलकर कुछ षड्यंत्र कर रहे थे कि नहीं.
Stalemate in both the houses, I mean, it is not welcome, of course. I mean, people of India, and basically kind of legislation business which is being held up for no obvious reasons.
If it is not a fact, if it is a fact, let the Prime Minister say that I have evidence. If it is not a fact, what is wrong in seeking an apology?
Nobody is going to give apology. Nothing happened in this house. No statement is made in this house. So there is no practice of suspending the question hour.
A big global development of the day, a shot in the arm for the Donald Trump administration. In the US, the Senate Republicans have approved a major overhaul of the American tax system. The bill has been approved by a 51-48 party line vote. The bill will now be sent to the House for another vote before it is sent to the President Donald Trump. CNBC's Lan Mui is here with the latest details. Lan, take it away.
Republicans are so close to the finish line here, but they are not quite there yet. The Senate passing the tax bill in the wee hours of the morning. The final vote was 51-48. No Democrats voted for it, and every Republican voted yes. Majority Leader Mitch McConnell characterized this legislation as the cornerstone of the GOP agenda.
After 8 straight years of slow growth and underperformance, America is ready to take off. Coupled with the regulatory reforms that have already been implemented by the administration, we now add comprehensive tax reform, major middle-class tax relief, and making our businesses, both large and small, more competitive around the world.
This win comes after the bill had hit a technical snag in the Senate. Lawmakers had to strike 2 minor provisions, but that is forcing the House to vote again on this bill, even though they had already passed it yesterday and then patted themselves on the back for that. Democratic Senator Bernie Sanders said this is a prime example of how Republicans are rushing to jam a massive rewrite of America's tax code through Congress with little debate over its implications.
Maybe, just maybe, before Congress adjourns for the holidays, we should start paying attention to the needs of the working families of this country, to the middle class of this country, and not just the billionaire class.
The House will redo its vote this morning, and the bill is expected to pass once more. President Trump will hold a news conference on it this afternoon.
Okay, Lance, fair enough. Thanks for joining in with that. Let's move on now. As 2017 winds down, we take stock of the year gone by. For the Indian real estate space, 2017 hasn't really been the dream year everyone had hoped it would be. From the lingering effects of the 2016 demonetization drive to the increased compliance requirements with the introduction of the real estate regulator, to a spike in legal action against developers by unhappy home buyers. CNBC TV 18's Kevin Lee reports on the many storms the real estate sector has struggled to weather.
Now, it was no surprise that demonetization hit the real estate sector especially hard, given the large amount of cash in real estate transactions. However, once reports started coming in at the end of the first half of the year, industry watchers, builders and experts were all shocked as to just how bleak things were.
The sudden and prolonged drying up of the cash component to property deals shook India's top real estate markets to their foundations. The National Capital Region, for instance, saw a 70% drop in launches between January and June 2017, along with a 25% dip in sales. In Mumbai, new launches were at a 10-year low, with sales down 8%. South India fared marginally better, with Chennai emerging as a bright spot, but given that the city saw heavy flooding in 2016, the base wasn't very high to begin with. Overall, the first half of 2017 was the worst period for sales and new launches for Indian real estate since 2012. Real estate consultancy firm Knight Frank's analysis suggests that it would take over 4 years just to sell existing inventory. But plunging demand wasn't the only roadblock for builders in 2017, nor was it the biggest.
20 years of me being in this industry, it was perhaps the biggest day yesterday with the regulator being formed.
Overall, this new act is a very positive development. I think it is going to be a game changer.
This heralded the implementation of the Real Estate Regulatory Authority, or RERA, and with it, the very landscape of the Indian property market was redrawn. This is a one-stop shop to address home buyer grievances and punish developers for unscrupulous activities. And it has meant increased compliance for builders and made the straight and narrow straighter and narrower. The new rules say builders have to pay home buyers in case of project delays. Further, builders will no longer be able to use funds received for one project to build another. But even as developers grappled with the new regulations, home buyers threw them another curveball: legal action. Two landmark real estate cases grabbed the spotlight. The first involved thousands of families who had bought houses being built by JP Infratech, which is facing insolvency proceedings. These homebuyers have since been assured that they will not be excluded from the table when the company's lenders seek to recover their loans. Unitech was the other developer to feel the heat. Even as the Supreme Court heard Unitech's case, the Ministry of Corporate Affairs moved the NCLT seeking permission to supersede the company's board to protect the interest of over 19,000 customers.
Now, both these cases are being heard by various courts, but the writing is on the wall. Erring developers are not likely to get away scot-free, and defrauded home buyers have become a big priority. So as far as the real estate sector is concerned, 2017 will go down as the year of the home buyer. In Mumbai, Kevin Lee.